If saying no makes you feel guilty, anxious, or even afraid that people won't like you anymore, you're not alone. And it's also not your fault. There is a reason that it feels so hard to say no. Your body has learned to associate no with rejection, with conflict, and even with danger. And that is because saying no actually triggers a threat response in your nervous system. Your sense of love, of belonging, of safety was tied to compliance and self-sacrifice as far back as childhood. And today, that pattern still runs the show. And in this video today, I'll walk you through 4 psychological reasons why saying no feels so hard. And if you stay to the end, I'll also give you several practical ways to start breaking free from this pattern and say no with confidence. The first reason why it's so hard for you to say no is something that I call conditional worth and early programming. From a very young age on, you probably learned, even if no one said it out loud, that love, approval, and even your sense of safety came when you were being helpful, you were being agreeable, or just easy to be around. Maybe, for example, when you helped your parents, you stayed quiet, or you put others' needs first, then they smiled at you, they praised you, or gave you affection. But when you spoke up, when you expressed a need, or you just expressed an emotion, or set a boundary, maybe then they got upset, they withdrew, or they even punished you. And your nervous system picked up on this pattern extremely quickly. When I say yes, I'm safe, I'm loved. When I say no, I'm bad, I'm rejected. And over time, you started to believe that your worth depended on how much you did for others, that you had to earn connection by putting yourself second and not by putting yourself first. And you might even notice this still shows up today. Maybe you say, for example, yes to extra work, even when you're exhausted. Maybe you cancel your own plans when a friend or partner asks you for help, and you tell yourself it's just easier this way. I don't want to cause trouble. I don't want them to think I don't care. But really, it's not just about this moment. It's your nervous system still running that old program that says, if I say no, they might stop loving me. So when you try to say no now, it doesn't just feel like a word, it doesn't just feel like a single action. It feels like you're threatening your own safety, because that's exactly what your body learned all those years ago. And then reason number 2 why it feels so hard to say no is because of your deep fear of rejection and conflict. You've probably noticed that even just thinking about saying no to someone, for example, your boss, your friend, your partner, your chest tightens and you start imagining all the ways they might react, like all the ways how this could go wrong. And that is not just overthinking, that's your nervous system preparing you for danger. It's you preparing for fight. When you grew up, you likely learned again, often without words, that other people's feelings and their approval were your responsibility. Maybe if someone got upset, it felt like it was your fault. Or you watched conflict explode in your family and you decided it was safer to just avoid it entirely. So now, as an adult, the idea of someone being disappointed in you feels almost unbearable. You might picture them thinking, oh my God, she doesn't care about me anymore, he's selfish, they are not a team player. And because your body still equates conflict with danger, you instinctively try to smooth things over and just keep the peace, even if it means betraying what you really want. Maybe at work, you agree to take on an extra project, as I said before, not because you have time, but because you're afraid your boss will think you're difficult or lazy if you say no. Or maybe with friends, you agree to go out when you really just want to stay home, just want to rest, because you're afraid that they will feel hurt or stop inviting you, for example, the next time. Or, for example, in your relationship, you avoid saying no because you fear an argument and the tension that comes with it. And you fear that more than you fear your own exhaustion or resentment. You've probably become so good at anticipating and managing other people's emotions that you don't even notice how much you're suppressing your own. The truth is, your nervous system is reacting to conflict as if it's still dangerous, as if rejection now would threaten your survival. And that is why saying no doesn't feel like just a word. It feels like you're risking love, you're risking belonging, you're risking safety. If you already recognize yourself in these patterns and you want to rewire them on a deep nervous system and subconscious level, my Mind Mastery community is where I help you do exactly that. With tools like EMDR, somatic techniques, and mindset rewiring. And you can find the link below in the description and in the pinned comment. And you can join anytime. Lowest tier starts at $9 a month. And then reason number 2 why it feels so hard to say no is because of your deep fear of rejection and conflict. You've probably noticed that even just thinking about saying no to someone, for example, your boss, your friend, your partner, your chest tightens and you start imagining all the ways they might react, like all the ways how this could go wrong. And that is not just overthinking, that's your nervous system preparing you for danger. It's you preparing for fight. When you grew up, you likely learned again, often without words, that other people's feelings and their approval were your responsibility. Maybe if someone got upset, it felt like it was your fault. Or you watched conflict explode in your family and you decided it was safer to just avoid it entirely. So now, as an adult, the idea of someone being disappointed in you feels almost unbearable. You might picture them thinking, oh my God, she doesn't care about me anymore, he's selfish, they are not a team player. And because your body still equates conflict with danger, you instinctively try to smooth things over and just keep the peace, even if it means betraying what you really want. Maybe at work, you agree to take on an extra project, as I said before, not because you have time, but because you're afraid your boss will think you're difficult or lazy if you say no. Or maybe with friends, you agree to go out when you really just want to stay home, just want to rest, because you're afraid that they will feel hurt or stop inviting you, for example, the next time. Or, for example, in your relationship, you avoid saying no because you fear an argument and the tension that comes with it. And you fear that more than you fear your own exhaustion or resentment. You've probably become so good at anticipating and managing other people's emotions that you don't even notice how much you're suppressing your own. The truth is, your nervous system is reacting to conflict as if it's still dangerous, as if rejection now would threaten your survival. And that is why saying no doesn't feel like just a word. It feels like you're risking love, you're risking belonging, you're risking safety. The third reason why it feels so hard for you to say no is because it challenges your identity and self-concept, the way you see yourself. And that is actually my favorite one. For so much of your life, you've probably been seen and actually have seen yourself as the reliable one, as the helper, the one who's always there for everyone. And you might even take a little bit of pride in it, like I'm the one people can count on. I'm easygoing, I'm the one who makes sure everyone's okay. But the thing is, when you've built your entire identity around being agreeable and available, saying no feels like you're betraying not just others, you're betraying yourself. And I know it might sound a bit dramatic, but it can feel almost like, if I'm not the helpful one, who am I? What value do I even bring to this relationship? Will people still want me around if I stop being that person? And you may even notice this shows up in little moments, not just in big moments. Like at work, you're the one everyone comes to when they need something, especially at the last minute, of course, and you say yes even though you're already drowning because, you always say yes, and that is who you are. Or for example, in your family, you're the one who organizes everything, keeps everyone happy and holds it all together. And you don't even feel like saying no is an option, because that would mean letting everyone down. And that's just not you. That's your identity, right? And you've been living in this role for so long that it feels safer to keep sacrificing your own needs than to risk stepping outside the identity that's always made you feel needed, valued, and loved. So when you try to say no, it doesn't just feel like you're setting a boundary. It feels like you're rewriting who you are And that can feel really, really scary. Especially it's around giving up an identity of being the good one, the helpful one, because the opposite would be I'm the bad one, I'm the not helpful one, right? So you can see how this is really tricky, and we have to really be really subtle on how we shift that, because the opposite of not being the helpful one doesn't mean that you're the bad person and not helpful. It just means that you now learn to take care of yourself, and this becomes part of your identity. The fourth reason it's so hard for you to say no is simply because you haven't practiced and you haven't yet built the tolerance to sit with the discomfort that comes with it. Think about it. If you've spent years, maybe decades, saying yes, smoothing things over and avoiding tension, of course saying no feels awkward, even wrong. Like, absolutely. It's like a muscle you have never used. It feels weak, shaky, a bit uncomfortable at first. Remember those first times at the gym? And you might already know logically that it's okay to say no. Of course it's okay to say no. But the moment that you actually try, your body reacts. So for example, your stomach knots up, your voice becomes a bit shaky, your mind floods with guilt or second guessing. And because that discomfort feels so intense, you give in and say yes just to make the feeling stop. And maybe you even told yourself it's just easier to say yes. I'll deal with my own feelings later. For example, someone asks you to help them move on the weekend and you know you need rest, but the thought of saying no makes you so anxious that of course you say, sure, just to avoid the awkwardness and this feeling in yourself. Or if a coworker asks you to cover a shift, you are already overwhelmed, but you say yes because you just can't stand the thought of them being upset with you. It's very normal, by the way. The thing is, you've never been taught how to tolerate that discomfort, to breathe through it and to stay grounded in your own no. So it's not that you're incapable of saying no, it's that you have never practiced and your nervous system has never learned that nothing bad actually happens when you hold your boundary in that moment. And the more you practice, the more you realize that wave of discomfort is temporary. And on the other side of it is freedom. So now you can see that saying no isn't just about being stronger or more confident. It's about unlearning years, maybe even decades of conditioning and teaching your nervous system that it's safe to have boundaries. Here are 4 powerful steps you can start practicing to change this pattern. Number 1 is start small. Start actually in low stakes situations. You do not need to start with the hardest no in your life. Begin with small, everyday moments where the risk feels low. For example, if someone asks you if you can stay late at work, but you're already tired, try saying, not today. Or if a friend suggests a restaurant that you don't really like, practice saying, actually, I prefer something else. So it's not even about a no, it's about your preference. And every time you do this, you're building confidence and you're showing your nervous system that nothing catastrophic happens when you honor your own needs. Number 2 is to reframe what no really means. Many of us grew up believing that saying no is rejecting someone or being selfish, but the truth is that saying no is deep, utter self-respect. And it's also honesty. When you say yes to something that you don't truly want, you're actually giving people a version of you that is not real. And over time, that breeds, of course, massive resentment and inauthentic relationships. No doesn't mean I don't care about you. It means I care about me too. So you can start telling yourself, my no creates space for my true yes. And number 3 then is to build nervous system resilience and learn to self-soothe. And this is actually a big one, because even when you know all of this theoretically, your body may still react with guilt, with fear, or even panic when you say no. And that is normal. It doesn't mean that you're failing. And this is where self-soothing comes in. So take a few deep, slow breaths when the discomfort arrives. Place a hand on your chest and quietly affirm, I'm safe. I'm allowed to have boundaries. And move your body, like even just shaking your hands to release the tension. And if you feel guilty, gently remind yourself it's okay to disappoint others sometimes. I don't have to carry everyone's feelings. And the more you practice this, the more your nervous system learns to tolerate the discomfort and the faster it passes. Number 4, challenge the belief that your worth depends on pleasing others. At the core of people pleasing is usually a deep belief that your value comes from what you do for others. But you're not more lovable just because you say yes all the time. You're not less lovable when you say no. Your self-worth is already there, even when you choose yourself. So start catching those old thoughts when they come up. Like, they won't like me if I say no, and then replace them with something truer, like people who truly care about me will respect my boundaries. And if you want help going even deeper, rewiring these patterns at the root, calming your nervous system, and learning how to set boundaries without guilt, that's exactly what we do inside my Mind Mastery community. In there, I'll guide you through the tools I use with my private clients, like EMDR, somatic practices, and mindset rewiring, to help you feel safe saying no and free to be fully yourself. You'll find the link below this video in the description and in the pinned comment, and I'd love to support you inside Mind Mastery. And remember, your no is just as important as your yes. Both deserve to be heard.